Hey guys, Deathscyp here from YCG, your casual gamer. So we're going to build a particle system from ground up together. If you're new to my tutorial series and you just want to learn how to do the particle system, don't worry about what you see around here. You don't need this to make the particle system. We're going to build it from ground up together. And this is what it's going to look like at the end. You're going to have smoke coming out and then it's going to stop. And I'm going to teach you how to use those 10 modules over here. I know 10 is just a little bit because there's about 100 of them. At least it's something to get you started with particle system. And this is what it should look like when you're done with this. You're going to jump into play. The door is going to open and you're going to get smoke coming out. Let me show you that again because it was a little choppy. So I'm going to drop down, smoke comes out, and this is it. So stay tuned. Okay, let's get started. So just grab yourself a folder and right click and we're going to create a particle system and let's call it door dash smoke. Now let's jump inside Cascade. So let's bring this up. So when you get inside Cascade, this is what you're going to be given at the beginning. You have these six module, and you see the first two are highlighted is because those two are always going to they have to be present inside your particle effect. So you can't delete the requirement and the spawn because they're too important for your particle effect, particle emitter. Now in the requirement, so let's go from top to down. First thing we're going to be working is they give you a material, a base material. It's like this target shape. We're going to go and we're going to go ahead and change this to the smoke material. Now the first thing you're going to notice if you go back in, the way to move inside the editor over here is like inside Unreal Engine. So you right click and you can go forward. And you can even play with the mouse to come closer and at a slower state. Now I have a nice focus. And if you get out of the focus, you can just press F and you're going to be back in focus with your matinee, with your particle effect. Now, the first thing I notice over here is that it's playing my animation all wrong. Like I don't see any cloud over here, even though I put the smoke. So let's go ahead inside the material and realize why this is happening. As you can see over here, there's a sub-UV particle. And if I click on this and I double click on the texture, you're going to notice that this is what is being spawned over here. Let's put the brightness up. So you got 8 picture by 8 picture. And that's not what we want right now. We want to isolate only one of the pictures. So let's go ahead and put that back to 1. And let's see in the material what's happening over here. Because the texture is being applied to everything. And if you saw the last video before, I explained why this happens. It's because of this texture coordinate over here that divides 8 by 8 to isolate only one of the picture over here. So now this is what we have to recreate inside our particle effect. And you see over here it's called particle UV. You should have something in your door smoke particle effect in the requirement that is called sub UV, like you see over here. And that zone over here is going to be there only because you have a sub UV particle over here that is present in your material. So now since this is present, you know that you have to put over here how many images is there horizontal and vertically. So let's put this one to 8 and 8, and there you go. Now it's isolating only one image. Let's put the method to linear just to make sure it's smoothly transitioned between sub image and given order. And the reason it says given order is because I have to be the one that gives the order, which is not given yet. And you want the image change to be randomized. That way it's going to create that nice smoky animation. It's still not doing it yet because we need a module inside over here to do so. So over here, let's add it right away. Let's go inside the sub UV category and get the sub image index. Now inside over here, the involve is always going to be the timeline of your animation, and this is the best way to check how long your animation is inside the lifetime, or you can go inside the requirement and the duration. But now you can see that this is pretty short, so let's pump it up to maybe 3 seconds, the minimum and the maximum to be the same, and make sure to do it inside the emitter duration too, put it to 3. And let's go back to the sub image. So now at 0, you want the first image to be spawned like we see over here, the little tree shape smoke. And now at 1 second, I want it to go all the way up to the last image. And since there's 64 image, the last image is always going to be -1. It's going to be 63. And now if I put it to 63, you're going to see right away, let's bring down the spawn rate to 5. And you're going to notice now that the cloud comes up, and then it just becomes something else. And it's if you want to see it in better, let's lower the velocity on the z-axis to 10 and 5, and you're going to see now the cloud comes up and it just changes to the other animation. And there you go. And there you go. You have your animation going around. It's still not perfect because right now it's going in all direction, and you don't want this. And that's because in the velocity, it's going in the X, Y, Z axis. You don't want it to go in the y-axis because if you see the door over here, everything is going to happen on the x-axis. Like you see over here on the x line, that's where the animation is going to be. So I want this to be on the x-axis. So put the y, everything that has y, you should be at 0. That way it's always going to be facing the camera when you're looking at the x-axis, which is not the case right now. Right now I wasn't looking straight to the x. Now you can see over here that you're facing the x-axis, like I was saying, the arrows pointing to the left. Now you're in the right position. And you can see that it's going left and right because I'm going 10 on the positive in max and minimum -10. So it's always randomizing between those two values. And 10 up and 5. So always between those two on how high the smoke is going to go. Now you still see the tree shape. And the reason you still see it is because the animation size starts off too big. Normally smoke starts small and then expands. So we want to recreate this inside our particle effect. So how are we going to do that? We're going to go into the initial size, and we're going to play only on the x-axis. So forget about these two. Even if you play with those right now, since we're on the requirement PS square, if you see over here it says uniform scale via x-axis. So it doesn't really take in consideration the y and z. And if you want to make sure that this is always respected, make sure to use this over here to stay in the local space, or else it's going to start going in every direction. So now for the initial size, let's only worry about the x-axis, and let's put it really smaller, maybe 10 by 10. Yeah, that sounds about right. Now you see it smaller, maybe even 5 by 5. Alright, now it's good. But now it's really small, but at least you can't really see the tree shape anymore. And we're going to make it so that we don't even notice that it's the tree shape anymore. And this is with size by life. So we're going to add a new module called inside the size and get size by life and drag it on top of the sub image index. I want it to be the last module over here. And we're going to bring, so at 0 second, we want it to be at 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. And at, I think our duration is 3 seconds. Yeah, so at 3 seconds, let's put it at 12. 12, 12, 12. Enter. And now you're going to see that the clouds start small and then spread out. And if you want to see a better cloud, you can just go and pump up the spawn rate back to 20. And you're going to see now a nice smoke animation going left and right, which is pretty nice. Now the only thing missing is, is that right now everything is originally going from the center, which when you go in the requirement, you can set the emitter origins to something else, but it's always going to be from that point. So how do you randomize on one axis how you want it to be spawned? You can go inside and get a new location, initial location module. Bring it up because we want to keep this at the bottom. And now we know we're working only on the x-axis, so we don't have to worry about these. So just pump up the x-axis to 50. So now from 0 to 50, is going to be our randomize pop-up. And you can see the smoke coming out from there. And if you really want to have it better, you can even pop up this to the rate to higher. That way you can see more smoke coming out. Now the what is missing over here is that everything is constant. So if I put this in my scene right now, it's going to keep on spawning all the time. And it's going to be like the smoke is coming from underneath. But what I want to recreate over here is that when the door opens, the smoke happens like a cloud, pops up, and then it stops after the door is open. So to do that, we're going to use a new method. Instead of the spawn, we're going to use the burst method. The burst method, compared to the spawn, works in loops. So you decide how many times you want it to go. And you can even make as many burst lists as you want, so that if you want the animation to have something happening at 2 seconds, 5 seconds, and 10 seconds, you could just do multiple burst lists. I'm going to show you how to do that. But we're just going to do the first list for now. So the spawn is a constant rate that's always happening, depending on the values over here that you set up. So let's put this to 0, and let's put this back to 1. And we're going to go play with the burst list. So here, let's add a burst list. So you can see over here that you choose the time and you choose how many count is going to happen. So let's say if I want 50 to happen at 0, now everything is going to spawn at the same time, like this. And it already looks like smoke. It's like my animation is already done. Now the only thing missing, well, from there you can start tweaking with everything you want. And what we're going to need for it to work in the scene, we're going to need to put a loop count, because right now it's, if you leave it at 0, 0 as you see over here is continuously, and you want it to happen only once because the door only opens once. And there you go, now it's going to work. It's going to wait till it completes, and then it's going to wait 3 seconds, and then it's going to go again. So now our animation is pretty much done over here. But the only thing missing, I find, is that when you see the smoke popping out, is that it's always the same animation happening, even if it's going in all the way. To make it more randomized, let's add a rotation to let's get a initial rotation inside. So initial rotation, put it up, and now you're going to see that all the smoke is going to go in different motion when it starts. And if you don't find like there's enough smoke over here, you can just go inside the spawn rate and add maybe 100 to the count, and you're going to see now it's going to be even more smoke now. So there you go. So you can play with those settings to have fun. Everything you change is going to change something inside the scene, and that's the best way to learn really with Cascade and making particle effects, is just try it out. Now if you know how to use 11 of the modules. The last one is the color over life that I want to go with you, is that it's pretty self-explanatory over there. So you got the color over life. So at the beginning, how much is it? At 0, 0, it's at white. If I want to put it to green. Now it's going to be green, and then I press OK. So it's going to start green, and then as it gets to 1 second, it's going to go to white again. If I want to, I can add more points if you want to have more than 2 colors. If I wanted to, I could put this to blue after, so when it goes to blue. So that's pretty much how the color works. And the only reason I can play with this is because my material allows me to. And remember to always play with these settings, because if you see that your material doesn't allow it, you need to add it inside your material, or else you won't be able to play with it inside your animation. Okay, keep that in mind. Now Control Z out of there. I want to keep this way. Maybe put it a little darker. That way it looks more smoky. Yeah, that's nice. So it starts clear and then it gets darker. There you go. So you're done with the particle effect. If you go outside and you drag it inside your scene. Oh, the last thing I wanted to share with you is how to make a thumbnail. So you have the explosion over here and the smoke. You see they have a little picture over here. To make this, it's pretty simple. You wait till you have something you like over here and you click on thumbnail like this. So now I liked how I saw the image, and then I just go over here and now it's going to show the smoke. If I want to change it, I can just wait till it's another image and click on thumbnail again. It's that easy. So now let's drag it inside our scene, and if everything works, it should be on the x-axis. As you see now, it's pretty small, so reset the emitter to be able to see it. Maybe we're gonna have to bump up the x-axis, put it on 12. There we go. Now it's a nice line over here. So for those of you that just wanted to learn how to make the emitter, this is we're done with the video. And for those of you that were following the videos, let's add it to the door. So just drag it underneath the door over here, like this. And make sure you're inside the right streaming volume. I'm never going to say that enough. And from here, we're going to add it to our trigger volume inside our level blueprint. So going inside the level blueprint, right click over here and create a reference. So you have already the do once that plays the matinee inside the trigger volume, and you want the particle effect to activate when the trigger volume triggers. And there you go, connect them together and everything should work. The only thing I would make sure to do as well is on the particle system over here, make sure that the auto activation is off. When you first create your particle effect, the auto activation is always going to be on, and when you jump inside your scene, it's going to fire before you fire it. So you don't want that, or else you're going to see smoke going underneath, even though it's not being called yet. So make sure to put this off inside the settings and save everything, and then when you jump in the scene, there you go. You got smoke coming out. If you want to, you could get a sound online to add for the smoke when you open the door. So that's it. We're pretty much done. We're done making our first particle effect from scratch. Hope you enjoyed this. In the following videos, we're going to be working on UMGs in Unreal Engine 4. So it's the widget editor inside Unreal Engine. And we're going to create a simple life bar and life system, and also a simple stamina system and running system inside Unreal Engine. So see you next time, and have a good night.